back. We're live with the Runnin' Raiders. Another week back in the studio. I'm TJ Caughell, Aden Hawes to my right. Ani Sairam is out today. He's studying for a test, correct?
We miss you, Ani.
We miss you. And we'll try and get an extra interview with you, Ani, because we need you. And our special guest today is head coach of the SOU women's basketball program, Carlotta Kloppenburg-Pruitt. Woo woo! Thank you for being with us today.
Of course.
How's your morning going?
Good. Yeah. Dropped the little one off at daycare and now I got to get to work. So
Yeah.
Living the dream.
Yep.
How has that been for you?
This was second day. So the first day was hard for me.
Yeah.
She was fine.
Yeah, that's good.
She had fun. First day was hard for me. The second day is a little easier. So it's going good.
Yeah. No, I remember the first time we dropped Teo off at daycare. It was especially hard for my wife, hard for me as well. But it's everything's an emotional experience.
Yeah, just the attachment you have. And we've spent every waking moment pretty much together for 6 months. So, leaving her is like, it's hard, but, we have to do it. And she's going to have a blast. She's already making some friends. So that's what it's about.
It's so good for them.
It is.
And will you say your name for us just so I don't mispronounce it?
Yeah, it's Karsten Lou.
Karsten Lou.
Yeah.
And was that your choice? Was that your husband's choice?
So the middle name is my husband's grandma's name. And then the first name we kind of came up with together. They have an app that it's like Tinder, like you swipe right if you like a name and you swipe left if you don't. And so we just started going through it, and that was one that we really liked. So yeah, just kind of stuck.
That's really nice.
What's the app called?
I don't even remember, but it's kind of like Tinder.
A way to keep you fighting too much, like you don't throw out a name that gets shot down.
Exactly.
You choose one together.
We can go back and look at all of them that we swiped right on. So
yeah, cool. Yeah, was this all in the plan to have a child at this stage of life, or did it kind of happen? Can you tell me how that worked out?
We got married in 2020, and then we just it was kind of just whenever it happened. We weren't like trying, but we weren't not, and so it was probably 3 months after I got the job here that we found out. And it was just, this is what we wanted. I wanted to go to a place where we could raise a family, and it just happened a lot faster than we thought it would. But it was perfect timing because it was right after season, and I was able to spend, the time we needed with her before we kind of got back into basketball season. So it worked out really well.
Right. Well, congratulations on getting married and then having Karsten. I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah, it's been awesome. A fun journey so far.
Has it been hard? Like you're saying, this is your first season having her. Has that been hard for you as far as your coaching responsibilities and those things?
Yeah, I'm really happy that my first year I was able to just be pregnant, because I think I was able to figure out, okay, the travel situation, what that looks like, and just figuring out here and figuring out how to be a head coach. I think if I would have had a child and trying to do that all my first year, I would have really struggled. Where this year I have I know what I want to run for the most part. Like the system is in place. All the things outside of that head coaches have to do, I think I have a better grasp on it. And so it made it easier of a transition. Now it is difficult, right? I'm watching film and she's hungry or has something in. You can't always just sit down and have that time for you. You have to really be efficient with your time. And so far, it's been great. The team is great with her, and that helps. I've had to have her at practice a few times, and it is what it is. And I think she has a blast. The players have a blast. And so it just kind of gives us a different element, to our team this year. And it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot for sure, but It's in a place like this, it's really doable too. People accept that your kids are around and they don't care. And that's been, such a blessing for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's incredible. It's so fun for me having my boys around. I mean, sometimes they're out of control and I'm just like trying to figure out what to do. You're not quite at that stage yet, but I'm sure, I mean, I don't know how it'll be, but there's a chance it'll get there.
Oh yeah.
But just for the university, the athletic department to let me have them in there, and for Coach Zozel to let them run around and distract him. I mean, it's been awesome. So congratulations again. I mean, that's great that she gets to grow up, in that life. Which should be somewhat similar to you, correct? Right? The Kloppenburg name is a well-known name in the basketball community.
Yeah.
And you've been doing this for a while. Can you give us a little rundown? Let's start at Lassen High School, correct? Is that where you went?
Lassen High. Yes. Yeah. That's back in the day. I grew up in Susanville, and my dad coached at the junior college for a long time. I was called the lucky baby because the year I was born, he won back-to-back state championships with the women's team there. So, that's where it started. I grew up in the gym there, and then went to Lassen, and, we were okay. It's a really small town, and so you don't get a lot of exposure. And my parents, we ended up driving to Reno, Nevada a couple days a week just for me to practice with an AAU team just to get better. I wanted to play in college, and I knew I had to play against some better competition. And so, from there, I went to Ventura College for 2 years. My dad coached against Ned Mercedes for a long time back in the day, and so we knew him really well. And when I was there, we were like the 22-23 Pete. He'd won conference 23 years in a row.
Oh my God.
I think he ended up losing the streak at like 27 in a row. That's just insane. Yeah.
Unreal, yeah.
So went there and I learned a ton from him. He's a great coach. And then got a chance to play at Point Loma in San Diego. And that was kind of a dream school for me too. So, I wasn't very good. I was a really streaky shooter. But I just worked hard and tried to, know the game really well. And as a shooter, you can always find a place on the floor. So even if I was streaky, they still had to honor me over there. So that's kind of how I made my living I wasn't very athletic or tall. So I made my living shooting the ball as a college athlete.
That's like one of the nicest campuses in the country.
Oh my gosh. My dad was like, this isn't even a school. This is a resort. You walk on and the beach you're just overlooking the water, and we'd open up the back doors during practice to get a water break, and there's like sunset over the cliffs. It was just ridiculous. It was awesome.
Yeah. Do you have a lot of friends from those times that you stay in touch with?
Yeah. Quite a few of my teammates. I actually saw one of them. She's recruiting like randomly up in Portland. She's coaching a 6th grade team, and so it's just the people that you have in your life. And from Ventura, I have some really close friends from those days as well. So, it was fun. We spent a lot of time at the beach in both schools. I think I picked pretty good schools.
Those were great choices. Yeah, I was thinking that too. Those seemed like really nice locations.
Yeah, it was awesome.
So I say it's a little facetiously, but it sounds like you've been really lucky everywhere you've gone. Like everywhere you go, they get better. Your team wins a lot of games, and it's not luck. I'm that, but, You've shown a ton of success. You had a great first year at Southern Oregon, and then you opened this year with number 4 Carroll, and you have a lot of new faces on your roster. And you ladies played exceptionally well, got it out a win, came from behind. Can you tell me a little bit what that was like, and your thoughts going into it, and your thoughts looking forward?
Yeah, so our first couple scrimmages, the first one was a little tough. We played Lane, and they're really good, and we were just still trying to figure ourselves out, right? We're not there yet, but I was just really impressed with the poise that our players had. We got down by 11, I think, in the third quarter. And, I thought at halftime, we made some really good adjustments, offensively and defensively. I thought offensively, we were a little bit passive in the first half. We weren't attacking downhill and getting in the paint. And then defensively, we weren't really crowding their bigs. And those are the only ones that were really hurting us, And so the second half, we started doubling down there a little bit more and showing a little bit more bodies on her. And then offensively, look to attack off their closeouts. And our bench was huge. I mean, they came in and gave big time minutes, got some really good stops. Our freshman hit her first shot of her college career, which is a big deal. And again, the three new players, Mallory and Emma, all three of them came in and were a huge light. And then we have a lot of players that last year didn't play as many minutes as they're used to, and they came in really confident and just ready to go. And so I think it's a testament to their hard work and just building that chemistry throughout last year. Even at the end of the season, they're still playing open gym. But then at the beginning of this year, they really just play for each other. And so I think our motto this year has been feed each other confidence. And every day in practice, 1 through 14, they're feeding each other confidence. And when you're confident, you can become a different player. And so that's definitely something that I think going into that game and staying with it throughout that game helped us turn it around for sure.
What are your biggest influences that you've taken into your coaching career? Is there a certain coach that you had or someone that you've looked up to that's really influenced you the most?
Definitely my dad and my grandpa. My grandpa's the inventor of SOS pressure defense, and my dad is really taking that, even a step further. And so I spent a lot of time with his teams over the summer as an intern. And so just seeing how he coached, how he implements his system, he's the one I go to for everything, and has such a great basketball mind, but also is really level-headed. So when I'm like freaking out about something, he's like, it's not that, it's okay. It's going to be fine. It's not that big of a deal, And so that helps me a lot. Just kind of like take a step back and be like, okay, we're fine. So he's probably my biggest influence. And then Charlie Turner Thorne at Arizona State, is another really big one. She's a mom of 3 boys, has been, she just retired, but was head coach at Arizona State for 25 years and just killed it there. I mean, she was incredible and had some, Elite 8 teams, and all while being a mom and all while really it was on the basis of her culture. She didn't have the most talented teams, but they just played for each other and played hard for her and got really far because of that. And so when I was working there, I learned a lot, on that side of it, of really how to create that environment, within our team. And she's still one. She'll call me and I call her, quite a bit and just ask for advice. And I'm really thankful to have her.
Yeah. What a great experience.
Mm-hmm.
Was it a similar type of play, pressure defense, getting downhill? Have all the programs you've been at been that type of play?
It's interesting because they've all been very different. When I was an assistant and a grad assistant at Winthrop, we ran a lot of sets, and we didn't play quite as fast. And then at Arizona State, it was just tough defense. Offensively, they really wanted to get the ball inside. They had some bigs. And then at San Jose State, it was like a run and gun, more offensive minded than defensive. And so I really have had a good mixture of every program I've been with. And then obviously, like working with the WNBA, they are very scout minded. And so I feel like I've had a really good background and a good mixture of being exposed to a lot of different styles. And I think that's really kind of helped shape, what I do. And then obviously, my dad is he really helps put in a lot of our offense and our defense, and really kind of having that WNBA mindset, of the things that they run. We run a lot of it too. And I mean, there's not defensively too, like there's not very many NAI schools or even Division I on the women's side that are icing ball screens, and
Right.
we pretty good. Last year it took us probably till the end of the year to get it, but this year we've started to ice ball screens, and just that extra line of defense. It's been really cool to put that in and have our players respond so well to it. So
Yeah. Sort of going back a little ways. Have you always known that you wanted to be a coach? Like knowing your dad and like how prominent he is, like have you always sort of wanted to be like in that role, or did it come like at a specific time after college?
yeah, I think, during college, it was right before my junior year. I went, my dad was the head coach for the Tulsa Shock. And that summer I spent all summer with him interning, and like, I knew I loved basketball, and I thought I'd want to be a coach. And so I took those summers, and when I graduated, or when it was my senior year, I was kind of looking for grad assistant jobs just to see how I could get in. And I didn't care what level. But my backup was like, okay, if I don't get this, I'll go try to do exercise phys and maybe be a personal trainer or something like that. Like I didn't quite know. I had to have a backup plan. And then once I got in kind of as a grad assistant, it was definitely something I wanted to do. And now there were moments like, especially at that level, it's hard because you don't really, it's just 24/7, you don't get a whole lot of time off. And in my mind, I wanted to have a family, and I'm like, how am I going to do that and coach? And, you're always on the road recruiting, you're always in the gym, which that's not a bad thing, obviously, but it's that level. There's just a different mentality. And I got to a point where I was like, okay, I want to try to be a head coach, and let's see if I can do it. And I think getting this job really even lit that fire even more of like why I coach, and how much how much I wanted to do this. Because for a minute I was like, I don't know if I can do it.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'm going to raise a family and be happy doing it. You could do it, but you're not going to see your kids ever.
Right.
And here, this is a place you can have both and be happy doing it. And it's about the people you're around too. And so, yeah, I mean, to answer your question, I feel like I always have been, but there has been quite a few moments where I'm like, man, I don't know. Like,
Right.
It can be a tough road.
yeah.
I started here, my coaching career as an assistant at Southern Oregon, and then I moved to Decatur, Illinois to take an assistant job at Millikan University, and it was crazy. It was Division III, and it was crazy. We were 0-24 when we got the job, so that made it a little bit tough. But that was my first exposure to, we're on the road every single night, recruiting, and we are doing everything. We're building the program from scratch. So I'm running study hall. I'm running the strength and conditioning program, and it never ends. It never ends. And I couldn't imagine going up a couple levels and being at the Division I and having just that extra scrutiny and extra level of pressure. It's a lot.
Yeah.
So do you see this this position here? Are you hoping this is a long-term situation, or what are you considering? I'm not trying to put you in a position.
Yeah, no, I honestly, I love it here. And I can see myself here for a long time. My husband has a job here, and he's athletic trainer for football, and we're just happy. And I just want to be happy in life. That's my main thing, like I want my family to be happy, and and we compete at a high level, and you can get great kids in here to coach. And I think that's what it's about. It's not about, the highest of levels. sometimes you get to those levels and there's a lot of entitlement, and obviously it's who you recruit too, but it's just different. Where here you don't have that as much. They really love basketball. They want to be here. They're working hard off the court. They have jobs. Like you just get different kids that are just they grind. And I think but also have a life,
Right.
they also have a life. And so I just think it's a good balance, and you still get to, pour into them, on and off the court. And that's why we coach, right? It's about building strong women and, helping that. And so I hope I'm doing that. I think I am.
Seems like it's me. Yeah.
But yeah, but that's my passion. It's not, yes, coaching basketball is just a way of doing that. There's a lot of ways to do it, but I think coaching basketball is one of the most fun because they love it, and there's so many life lessons that you teach every single day. And I learn a lot from them. There's a lot of life lessons I learned. So I think, again, this is just a place that, we love it. My family is close. My brother just moved here. And so, I don't see myself or, my family leaving anytime soon.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
What is your recruiting philosophy? What are you looking for?
I was going to ask the same thing.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Looking for when you're out there.
Man, that is still something I'm somewhat figuring out too. And I think that is one of the hardest parts. When you're an assistant coach, it's so easy to be like, oh, this kid, and like they're really good, and she's, she can do this. But then as a head coach, there's so many like little things you have to think about of like, okay, what's their family? What's their background? What are their grades? Because you don't want to be babysitting all the time. What are, do they really fit your system? Where do you see them? Are they going to be able to play the defense you want to play? Are they going to come in and work hard in practice every day? Because if you coast in practice, and especially in our practices, it doesn't go well for you, And so like, I think that is something I'm still trying to figure out. And it's really about like trusting, the coaches that you've talked with, about them, and having those certain people, and then really knowing how are they going to be in practice. And it's hard because we can't get out as much here as, when I was an assistant, I was like, all right, I won't be at practice today because I'm going to go recruiting.
Right.
Sorry.
Okay.
I can't do that here. I have to be at practice. And so it's a lot of film based. It's a lot of trusting people that are in your corner of, I have a couple people, especially in the Bay Area, that I trust a lot. And so I go through them. But, for me, I'm looking for people that are, one, going to play defense in a system that, just gets after people, and you're going to work hard. And that doesn't mean you have to be the most athletic person, but you have to be willing to learn it. And then, offensively, what is their skill set? I talk to Zozo all the time about this. Like, we need some 3-and-D people, right? I need someone that can just hit a shot. They know their role, and someone that's going to flat out defend. Yep. And then you can kind of build, okay, now I need a point guard that, has quickness, right? Because we want to play fast. We want to turn people up the floor. So I've got to find a point guard that can do that. I don't mind not having crazy big post players, because I think especially in our conference, if you have post players that you can pull out like Cammie and, Clara, then they're really hard to guard. Those big posts, they come out and try to guard her and she goes right by. And so I think, post players that can move, that are going to be able to defend, that are strong. And then honestly, toughness. You have to have toughness. That's something that it's hard to coach soft. I'm not gonna lie. It is, because it's hard to change their mindset. And so I think those, as far as positions, those are the things I look for. And then all the other stuff, you got to be a great person and you have to add to our culture. If you're a negative, it's going to be really, really difficult for you to stay in the program. And our girls don't really play with that, you know.
Right. Yeah.
They don't mess with the negativity. You know, they all want to win, and they know that we have to do it together. So
Right.
Gosh, there's so many things I want to ask. But,
ask away.
Going back back to your dad and your grandpa, I know you said he was the OG, so to speak, of the SOS defense. Can you sort of describe that and go into detail on what exactly that is? Like SOS, like, is that an acronym for something? Like, is that a style of play?
So SOS it's a couple different things. So when you're on the ball, it's called set, on, smother. So set is before they dribble, on is when you're on the ball, and then smother is dead. And then the off the ball is snuggle, which is deny, off, strike. So just kind of you know, an easy way to remember that stuff. But he really he coached at it was called Cal Western, and it was actually on Point Loma's campus. So it was Point Loma before Point Loma. So he was the first coach to ever coach in that gym, which is really cool.
That's a cool
And
gym.
then I got to play there.
That's a cool gym.
And so I think they were NAIA at the time. And he really implemented his system there. And, you know, it's just a man-to-man fundamental defense first. You know, we really hone in on the fundamentals, and then we can get to more of our trapping and things like that. But he really kind of took off from there. And then he got into the NBA. He was an assistant for the Seattle Supersonics for 13 years. And, you know, the days with Gary Payton and Sean Kemp, those guys, you know, they really implemented that. They defended, and that was the system. You know, that was SOS, where they'd deny, they'd trap people. They were just really, really tough. And it's actually kind of a funny story. One year, my grandpa was an assistant during the All-Star game, and Shaq was on the other team. And, you know, my grandpa, of course, like, has to play defense in an all-star game, even though you're not supposed to, right? And so they would trap people and get a steal. And Shaq got so mad. He's like, "Why are you playing defense in an all-star game?"
That's awesome. That's incredible.
But yeah, so he just, it really just took off from there. And then he did a lot of clinics overseas for a long time. My dad would go overseas with him and do clinics, and it's really, now there's kind of steps to it of different offenses that you see and how you can disrupt it. And you know, my dad's kind of implemented more of that as it's gone on. And so yeah, I mean, it's funny because anytime anyone asks me, "Oh, you guys, you know, pressure," I'm like, "Yeah, my family would disown me if I didn't play SOS pressure defense."
Well, it's worked pretty well in the conference, it seems like.
Yeah.
It throws a lot of teams off.
It does. You just can't prepare for that pressure, and it's all game long, you know. And when you're fundamentally sound, you can make up for a lot of, you know, maybe miscues or things like that. But you know, I think that's the biggest key to it, is just working on your fundamentals every day. And you have to have players that are just going to buy in, and they're bought in. And you know, there was one time last year where we weren't as aggressive, and we were playing Simpson, and they had a close game with us. And, you know, I told them, like, "Guys, you have to understand, at first you might give some stuff up, right? But when you're grinding all game long and you're pressuring all game long, they are going to wear out, and you have to just stay with it." And I think against Carroll, you know, it kind of got them, right? It was, they got us a few times on some back cuts and things that they did, but we just kept going, and it was all game, and they just started to wear down. And, you know, I think, it's fun to play too when everybody is bought in like that.
Yeah, it's fun when you see the other team wear down too, when you realize that, I mean, that's just, you feel tough, and you feel strong and relentless when you see that other team wearing down. But that can take a long time to build that culture too. I'm sure that was a lot of work for you, especially
for sure.
on.
Well, and last year I had, seen some really big senior leadership, and I got really lucky when I took the job. They were already really good. And so they had a good foundation of what they did, and we just kind of ramped it up a little bit. And I had really good leadership that they played hard every day. They practiced hard every single day, and that made everybody else practice hard, and they were bought into the system. And that's just helped. I mean, that helps tremendously, because it wasn't like we're fighting these battles of like, come on, like, it's going to work. Like, I never had to say that. They just did it. And that really helped, moving forward, having that foundation.
Yeah. Especially when it works.
Yeah, exactly.
It helps a lot. Yeah, no, I love hearing that. You always have a chance when you're playing defense, right? You always have a chance to beat anybody. Did you have any players growing up that you looked up to, that were fun for you to watch or you wanted to be like?
Oh man. When my dad, it was his first years in Seattle, and that was when they drafted Sue Bird, and she was like my idol. I was like 8 years old probably. And when they drafted her, she was like everything. I wanted to be Sue Bird when I grew up. So she's been a big influence, and she used to bet me all the time if I'd make a 3, and then I'd turn around and make it. She'd have to give me $20. Yeah, we had some fun times. Like those were the best summers ever. But probably her, and then another one would be Tamika Catchings. She was one of those that she just worked and worked and worked and worked all game long. Like, she was all over the place. And she's definitely somebody that I want our players to kind of channel off of, because she wasn't the most athletic, like, yes, for that level, right? But she just worked her butt off. And so I think that she and Sue Bird are definitely my top 2.
It's a good top 2.
Yeah.
Great role models, and to be able to see them up close and personal and have a personal relationship, that's amazing.
I was so mad when the Aces won.
I know. I was a little salty though, because my dad, they didn't bring my dad back last year with the Storm. He ended up going to the Fever, which was awesome. So I was a little bit salty, but I also love like Sue and Stewie, and so I was like, oh, it hurt, seeing them. But it was cool for Becky Hammon, first year, to see her, really with that same roster they had the year before win it was pretty awesome. And it was their culture change, and in style a little bit, but it was fun to see that.
Yeah, they seem like they're like the complete opposite. They just like to outscore everybody.
Yeah.
They don't care about defense.
Not quite as much. Yeah.
Do you know Becky Hammon at all?
I don't. No, I know my dad does a little bit, but she's definitely one I would love to get a chance to just meet. She there's so many things that, like, there was one quote that she said, I don't know if you guys know this about me, but I'm not one that's been picked for much, and all these NBA guys like passed on her as a head coach, and then she comes to the WNBA and wins a championship in her first year, and it was just like a big, like, yeah, I know I'm good, yeah. I know I'm a great coach. And so it was she just kind of has a chip on her shoulder, and I really like that about her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I grew up with 2 older sisters, no brothers, so there's a lot of feminine energy in her house. So I've always it's come out wrong, but I've always been a big believer in women and the power of women. So it wasn't not surprising that Becky Hammon was able to be successful in the NBA, but still she was a pioneer, and that's at the time when she got hired, it was kind of like, wow, there's a woman coaching in the NBA. Was that something? Do you have any thoughts on that? Was that weird for you to see her going to the NBA? Was it surprising for you?
It wasn't weird, because she being in San Antonio and like with Coach Pop, like it just seemed like it was a perfect fit, right? We get to learn a ton from him, and I thought it was awesome. And now you see a lot of women in the NBA, and not as much as there should be, I think personally, but it's really cool to see. And just a little fun fact, I actually interviewed for a video coordinator job for the Warriors. I didn't get it, but it was a really cool experience just to think that maybe I could be a part of like it would have been like one of the first women they ever had on their coaching staff.
When was this?
This was 2020, I believe. Okay. So it was like it was the year before I got this job. And it was I was hesitant, to be honest, because you don't make very much money, right? Yeah. And it's like part-time, but you're there all the time. And we were living in San Jose, and I would have had to drive, and there were a lot of different variables. But I was like, I have to try, that this is something that I can't pass up. And so just thinking about me being in those shoes of like being a pioneer and on that side of it would have been really cool. But it was also my dream to be a head coach where I am now. And so, God just works in awesome ways of being able to like give me a glimpse of that. And then, no, this is your path. Like, this is what you're supposed to do. And so, yeah, I just think you can impact women in so many different ways. And Becky Hammon and the women that are in the NBA are doing it that way, which is really cool.
I'm kind of curious to hear your thoughts on this. Obviously, in the women's game, there's plenty of male coaches, but switched around, it sort of seems like until recently, it's been like a little, not so common. So I'm curious to you, what do you think? Why do you think that is? Like, why do you think it's taken up until recently for the doors to open? You know what I mean?
I think part of it is that, men were in these higher positions for so long, and women weren't being like groomed, right? They weren't being taught yet. And so, and this is where I get into like, there's a balance, right? I think there's some hires that like of women that just aren't ready yet, or maybe they're ready, but then they don't hire somebody, which it could be a male, right? But they are not hiring that person because he is a male, although they would help them. You know what I'm saying? Like, as an assistant coach, like Richard and my dad are the best assistants ever because they're experienced and they are so for women. It's not like they're against women. You know what I mean? And so there's a really like hard balance right now, because I do think women should get more opportunity coaching women, but you have to do it the right way too, and I think, especially like with my dad, like he's been a huge promoter of women, and especially Black female athletes in the WNBA. And so you want men like that, right, in your programs, because it's not about that. They're trying to just help teach, right, and help you get there. And so I think part of that is that it's just women haven't been able to been put in those positions. And it's working for, maybe you've worked for a male head coach, but did you get to go on the floor at all? Like, did you get to coach at all? Right. Or did they let you do some things? And so then you're ready for that next step. And so I think, I think it's just a process, and we're getting there, and there's so many more women getting hired now, especially for women's sports. It's just taken a while, and it's really good to see. But I think, part of it was, it's just, they haven't been given the chance. They haven't been given the opportunity to step into those roles. Even as an assistant coach, have they been able to do anything on the court? I think that's a big piece, so that they're confident in their next job, because you want to put somebody out there and then be successful and not
Right.
fail,
Right.
because they're not ready.
Right.
So, and we're getting there, but there's definitely still some that I'm like, oh, are they going to be successful, or are they going to fail because they're not ready,
Right. No, I've always thought that was interesting, just because, like I said, obviously there's always the big giants of the women's game, like Pat Summitt, Coach Yao, Tara Vanderveer, but like you see some of these other guys, and it makes me wonder, at least, like, are some of these programs better off, like these young ladies, like learning from a woman? You know what I mean? As opposed to some old white guy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And honestly, I think, I never had a woman coach until I worked for Charlie at Arizona State. And that's where I really saw the benefits of having a woman coach, because they've been through the same things. We deal with the same things that they have. We can relate so much better. And I really was like, yeah, like, we need more women. And, my players, I even feel like they're a little more comfortable talking to me about certain things than they would be if I was a male, because they haven't been through that, where I've been in their shoes. And I think it's important for them to see, a woman be a head coach and get to run the show, because then they know they can do that. And we have some really strong women on our team, and their moms are incredible people and incredible leaders wherever they are. And so, again, we're just working to get there. And it's really been fun to, first of all, like, meet their parents, because their moms really have been such big influences, because they're leaders. And it's again, I just think, I loved my coaches, like, nothing against them at all. I just think it's just a different element when you do have a woman, head coach that you can go to.
Oh, that's great insight.
You mentioned that your dad did a lot for creating opportunities for Black women in the WNBA. And it seems like you have a fairly diverse group of student athletes in your program. Is that something that you're conscious of and you think about with the athletes that you recruit? And also, what is your take or your feel on the vibe for people of color in the Rogue Valley and in Ashland, and women of color, your Black players and players from wherever they're from?
Yeah, I'm definitely conscious about it, and trying to, at the end of the day, I'm going to get the players that are the right fit for our program. And I think that is having more diversity on your team, because you learn so much about each other's cultures and backgrounds, and that is another form of growing. And, I think Ashland and SOU is a great example of that, with all of our teams really is a great mixture of people from everywhere. Now, outside of Ashland, Medford, like, you get up into Grants Pass, it's not great. And I do feel for our players, and we've had a lot of conversations of the places that we travel to. There is racism. It's legitimate. And how do we protect them, and how do we make sure that they feel safe? And, it's something I know the conference is working on, our school as well. But we've had a lot of conversations in that, because we go to these really, small white towns, and, and it's really important that we just make sure that they feel safe, and that nothing's going to happen. And if something does, that it's being addressed right away.
That's great to hear. I laughed not because it's funny at all, but I laughed because you said you get up to Grants Pass and it's not great. And when I asked Tez the same question of what his vibe for Black people in the Valley, and he said, it's not great. Like it was the exact same answer that
unanimous.
you said.
Yeah.
Like literally. So, you know, we had a great talk with Tez on that. And I think just the more we can talk about it and inform people and educate young people, it's only going to make things better. And, you know, I have a lot of hopes for our student athletes being, you know, bridges into the future, and hopefully some of them will stick around the Rogue Valley and help us diversify and just continue to improve our culture. Because I love the Rogue Valley. I love Ashland. You know, I went to school here. I think it's a great place, but there's definitely some things that can improve, as there is with every place.
Definitely.
So, away from basketball, what do you do for fun? What do you do in your recreational time, and what are your major interests?
Well, before I had a kid, now my life is like completely changed. No, honestly, Carter and I love to go camping. So once I think we can do it now. She was a little too young when she was born, but maybe this summer, take her camping. We love, you know, going out to the lake. Lake Almanor is like 3.5 hours from here, is like my favorite place in the whole world. It's where we got married. And so we love to just be outdoors and doing things like that. You know, and just being with my family is definitely a big one. Now that family's closer, and then my sister, they live in San Diego, so we try to go down there with my nephews and be around them. Yeah, that's pretty much what I do for fun. Watch basketball.
I know, right?
What is it about being outdoors that you really enjoy?
You know, I grew up at Lake Almanor in the summers, and so we were just outside all day. I was a lifeguard when I got into high school, and so it's just relaxing, and it just brings back the memories of, you know, always playing with my friends outside and playing tag and just, you know, being kids.
Yeah.
It just kind of brings you back to that like peace of just being able to, you know, be in the moment. And so, yeah, and this is a great place to be because you get all the seasons. And so even the snow, you get to get snow on the mountains, like you get to be out in the snow. So, yeah, really just kind of just gives me some peace.
Reduces stress.
Definitely. And water, like being around water, you know, that's why I picked 2 schools by the ocean. Just lakes and oceans. It's just, again, just relieves stress. You get to just lay out and tan and, you know, watch the kids play and swim around.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. I grew up on small town, Reedsport, small town on the Oregon coast. So I was always out at the ocean and loved going to the lakes and rivers. And it's just, you know, you spend a lot of nights laying out under the stars with my mom, and just like there's something so energizing and recharging about just disconnecting from everything else and connecting to the stars in the universe and everything else. So interesting. So that makes it nice though. You know, you have your really strong focus with your family and your basketball, and then you know where you want to go when you have some time away from that. And sounds like you have a nice little routine with your life.
Yeah, there's all kinds of camping out here. So we haven't been yet too much. So we're excited once we can get out.
Favorite TV show?
Ooh.
Oh gosh. Oh man, we have a few. I don't know. New Girl is probably way up there. I love New Girl.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's New Girl?
Oh, have you watched New Girl?
I'm not gonna lie, I haven't.
Oh my gosh. Ask
wanted
your
to
players.
ask, like,
Ask your players.
breaking
They'll watch
ground.
it. And have you watched Ozarks yet?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I know.
It's so good.
You're a Midwest guy.
And I'm not even super into those shows, but that one was, it's intense. That's a good one.
TJ,
I've heard good things. I've been to the Ozarks before. Traveled through them. I didn't stay at the lake.
You gotta watch that one. It's a must see.
Yeah, it's good. I'm telling you, New Girl, like if you just want to like put it on, it's hilarious.
What's it on Netflix?
It's on Netflix, yeah.
And what's the premise?
It's like these 3 guys that are roommates, and they need another roommate, and so a girl moves in, and I can't think of her name right now, but she's like just goofy, you know.
Yeah.
And so she moves in, and it's just a story of like them as roommates, like living together, and they're probably in their late 20s, early 30s, you know, so
Oh,
it's pretty funny.
That sounds good.
It seems like one of those shows where if you like talk about the premise, you're like, oh, that sounds boring. But then if you watch it, you're like,
Oh, it's
this is awesome.
hilarious. It's
Yeah.
hilarious. Like, I don't know if you like The Office, I
Yeah,
feel
love
like,
it, love it.
yeah, I feel like the humor can be similar sometimes, but yeah, it's kind of,
Pretty
you would
big
like
praise.
it.
That's
You
Good
would like
sell,
it. I
good
love,
That's big
sell,
praise.
yeah.
I love The Office too. So I love New Girl. I love The Office. And then, what's the other one? Oh my gosh, that I'm thinking of. Parks and Rec.
Okay, I've
Yeah.
seen that a little
That's
bit.
a good one
I
too.
didn't get as into that one.
That one takes a little bit to get into, but yeah, that's a good one.
Parks and Rec. Oh, no, I'm sorry, I'm screwing this up. The guy from Modern Family is not in Parks and Rec, is he?
I don't think
The dad,
so.
the dark-haired dad.
I don't think so.
I'm screwing this up. I don't know. I was thinking that he has a house in Ashland. That's just what
Oh.
made me think
Oh,
of that.
wow.
I didn't know
Fancy.
Anyway, we're gonna move past that one.
Breaking Bad. You ever watch Breaking Bad?
Carter watched it. I never got into it.
Really?
Yeah, surprisingly. I don't know. I think I watched a couple episodes and I
Is he,
just
like,
didn't.
gory or anything? Or what?
Maybe. I don't know. I was probably at a point in my life I didn't care too much about that stuff.
Yeah,
That's fair.
that happened to me too when I was at certain parts of my career where it's just like I couldn't even watch a TV show. I felt like I was cheating myself from my career
Yeah,
early on in basketball, which it sounds like it was similar for you.
totally. Yeah, now like I have a little more time to, watch some shit. Well, not now that I have a child. When I didn't. I had some time to watch some shows, but yeah, no, not too much anymore.
Do you get any sleep?
It's getting better. She wakes up like once or twice a night. So it's not terrible. It's better than the newborn stage, but
She seems pretty good.
she's a pretty good baby so far. Yeah, she's happy and always having fun. So
Never hear her that much whenever she's in the office ever.
I know I always feel bad if she's like screaming.
No, she's great. What about Game of Thrones? You ever get into that or no?
I didn't. I know. I'm terrible.
Matt and I are big into Game of Thrones. TJ doesn't like it either.
My brother loves Game of Thrones. Yeah.
My sister was really into it. She had me watch an episode or two, and it was good, but I just couldn't. I just couldn't commit the time to it. It was the same time period I was in. I was in Tacoma. I had just gotten the job in Tacoma, and so it was like I just couldn't commit to it. We started to have kids too, and kids were easier for me than my wife, but they were still a lot when they're young.
It's intense. Yeah.
What can you tell me about when Karsten was first born? What thoughts went through your head?
Oh gosh, that was like
Recent.
Yeah, April 22nd, the best moment like of my life. I didn't know that you could like love a little human being so much. And it was just, there were just so many emotions that go through you at that point. You're exhausted, first off. Like I didn't sleep for probably, I don't know, 30 hours, I think.
Wow, yeah.
And so you're just tired and your body is just like torn apart. You're just,
Yeah.
and but at that moment, you like don't care about anything else. Like you like made this little human being, and yeah, she just, it was crazy. Just the feelings that you go through during those, 24 to 48 hours is pretty incredible without any sleep.
That's crazy you said that. My mom had literally the same exact words about my siblings and I. Like, I didn't know I could love something or anything that much until I held that little baby.
Yeah, it was incredible. And like when you're pregnant, you feel close, but you don't really know. And then you have her and it's like, and then you leave the hospital and you're like, wait, like I have to take care. Are we sure we can do this?
Right. I remember that feeling.
Like, can we please bring you home, nurses?
Yeah. Yeah, my wife was real scared to leave there too. But it's just everything changes, obviously, and those feelings that you're saying. And it's different for a mother too. There's that extra special bond for a mother for sure. But there's something weird about once they're here, it's like you almost can't remember what it was like before they were here.
Yes.
And there's something about that that's just, I don't know what it is.
So true.
It's just God working
Yeah.
God working miracles or whatever it is. But
yeah, I mean, Carter and I are always like, what did we do before we didn't have Karsten? Because even when she goes to bed, we're like watching videos of her or like looking at pictures,
Now what?
yeah, it's like, oh, what are we supposed to do? What did we do before that? Watched New Girl. That's about it.
I find myself having a lot more energy when things are at their toughest, like being able to get through more, because it's just like there's no oh, I'm just gonna go to sleep and wait this out like I did sometimes before I had kids. It's like you're gonna figure out the answer, and you're gonna be there.
Man, that there's so much truth to that, because even last year, I was pregnant, so it was just different. And even before that, it was like waking up at 7, I was like a zombie. It was rough. I'm like, how am I going to get through the day? Late practice, whatever. I'm just not a morning person. And now it's like, I go off of like 6 hours of sleep, and like I'm rolling, and I have to have energy at practice. I can't be half asleep. So you just kind of figure out a way to, function off of little sleep.
Yeah.
You're a lot tough. It makes you a lot tougher.
It does, right?
And after having a child, like I might be the toughest person in the world. I don't know.
You're tied. You're at least tied.
Top five.
That's how it feels. Like every mom in the world, like you are the toughest person ever because of what you went through.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, that is intense, and it's got to be incredibly painful. I think the endorphins are pretty strong, but still, I mean, that's a lot.
I
don't envy that.
Nobody prepares you for that. Yeah,
right.
Nobody prepares you.
I mean, especially with the way you guys practice, like you have to bring even more energy than probably our practice or a normal college practice even. For
sure. Yeah. And there's, our players do a pretty good job of it too, but you have to be intense, because it's amazing. When I was last year, my first year as a head coach, just how your attitude and what you bring is so infectious to them. What you do that day, they're going to do. Mm-hmm. If you don't have energy, they're not going to have energy. If you're on edge, they're going to be on edge. Right. They literally like do what you do. And so it's just making sure you come in consistent every day. And, I'm not perfect at it, that's for sure, but making sure you bring that energy every day, because then they will, or at least they'll try. But it's really incredible, like how you are. They're going to be that way.
Going back a little bit, I know we had talked about, you taking over a team and sort of inheriting a group of players that you didn't necessarily bring in. We're sort of, or I should say, we've already gone through that a little bit. I'm curious what's that was really like for you, and how you handled getting them to buy into you going from one coach to another. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think, again, I got to take over a team that was already really successful. They weren't 0-24, right? Like we didn't have to completely flip the script. They knew how to win. And honestly, I think a big part was just like my background and having my dad come in and help.
So there's like a respect factor.
Yes. Okay. And it was like, on my interview, I showed them film of them like playing defense and some of their press and turning people over. And then I showed them film of the Storm and how they were turning people over with their pressure, which was going to be the same stuff we were going to do. Mm-hmm. And I think that, again, it gave them like, oh, like we can do that. Right. And it was kind of a new, innovative, not really innovative, but just a new style for them. And I think having that kind of background, it was like, okay, it's a respect factor. Like my dad's a WNBA championship coach, how can you not listen to him?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that really, to be honest, that really helped gain that, kind of trust in a way. And then it was really just building relationships with them off the court. This year I haven't been able to do as many meetings. Now that she's in daycare, I can. But I would meet with them, every couple weeks, and we just talk about life, and things like that. And so I think that part of it was really important over the summer, especially with those leaders. I built a relationship with them. And so that really helped just kind of ease our way into creating that culture.
It's cool.
You deserve a lot of credit. You probably had some advantages there, like you're saying, with your father, and you've been successful a lot of places, and you inherited a good program. But I've seen a lot of good programs fall apart when a new voice came in, even with good returners. So you've done a phenomenal job.
Thanks.
It's
been fun.
Yeah. And then to start the year with a good win, and then we go to Klamath Falls, right? What's today? Today's Wednesday, so Friday.
Yep.
George Fox on Friday.
Yep.
What can you tell us about George Fox?
They haven't played yet this year, but they have quite a few returning, and they're pretty good. And that's been a really good program for a long time. They've been well known.
Coach Meeks was before there, right?
Yes, and then before that, it was the coach at Oregon State. So
that's right.
He went straight from
that's
George
crazy.
Fox, Oregon
Yep.
State.
That's such a crazy jump.
I know. So they've been really successful. So I know they're gonna play hard. They're scrappy. A little bit smaller, but again, we're not huge either. So I think it'll be a really good test for us. And then Menlo, they were a tournament team as well. So these are really two big games. Coming off of a win like that, we got to stay focused on, all right, just the next game, right? And the next opponent, and just continuing to just get better. That was like our emphasis yesterday. And we do a quote. We have a quote calendar. And so we have people do quotes every day. And that was Mallory's quote yesterday. It was like, we just have to keep getting better. That's what we focus on. Nothing else. So, but yeah, I think it's going to be a really, really challenging weekend. So I'm excited.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah.
Short drive over the hill.
Yeah, I know. You guys have a little longer.
Yeah, ours is longer, but it's not too bad.
It's not terrible.
The bus opened up, so we get to take the bus. So
I know. That's so clutch. Yeah.
Especially for me, because I don't have to drive.
Yeah, driving over that pass too. I would not want to do that right now.
Right, with this first snow.
Is it Deb driving? Do you know?
I'm not sure.
You haven't had Deb yet.
She's cool.
Good or bad?
She's intense.
I like
Does that
intense bus
answer?
drivers.
She drives that bus like a Corvette.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, like she will get you there. She might hit a couple things in the parking lot as we go, but she's gonna get you there. And she's awesome.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned those quotes, and I've always felt like for my coaching career, it's easier to respond to a loss than it is a win, especially a really good. It'd be considered an upset win, right? First game, just by preseason rankings, not necessarily that it was an upset, but then to go into this weekend, it should be exciting.
Yeah,
fun to watch you guys.
And again, we have good leadership that they know, right? Like they know that we haven't done anything yet. It's about just continuing to get better, and what are we striving for? And yes, you beat a top 4 team, but that was big time win. But we didn't even play that well, and there were so many things we showed in film that we can improve on. And so I think they have that mentality of just continuing to grow and get better, and see where we can go from here.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
It's the best part of coaching is, especially like you were saying, after a win, being able to learn from a win instead of a loss. I think it's always a lot more fun.
Definitely. Yeah, for sure.
And the season's here when I was playing, our league was smaller, so there was a longer preseason and all that.
Right.
Now we're cramming all these games in. For us, it's, what is it? Friday, Saturday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Tuesday, I think.
I think we play next weekend at home. We have Jessup again on Thursday. Yeah, Saturday.
Yeah.
Tuesday, Simpson. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so it's awesome.
Yeah,
but
it's here.
Also easy for me as an assistant coach, just go ride the train, but that's got to be hard as a head coach preparing for all those games in a short amount of time. And then and then Idaho and Eastern Oregon.
Yeah. Luckily, I have an awesome assistant who is really good with scouts. And so he has helped me a ton on that side of it. You know, I still watch, I try to watch at least one game, and then I watch a lot of clips on Synergy. But he does a really good job with our written scout and our video. And so that's just time that, you know, I can have just preparing for our trip, you know, of making sure we have cars and, you know, random stuff like that. And so he's been a blessing. My goodness.
So as a head coach, obviously there's so many different ways to delegate tasks. Are you the type where you're like the judge, jury, executioner, like you do everything, or what do you like to delegate to assistants, if anything? Obviously you just had scouting, but like, do you have Coach Vasey be like an offensive coordinator, or do you do everything? Like, how does that work for you?
So, you know, especially like my first year as the head coach, I felt like I had to like do everything because this was, you know, I didn't want anything to mess up. And if it was messed up, it was going to be on me. And, that was and also my assistants, they're not full-time. So he has to work. And, you know, my assistant last year, like he was in school. And so I couldn't lean on them too much because they have other things outside of this. And so, that was definitely, you know, the scouting has been huge for Richard to help me with. You know, in the summer, he'll go out and recruit a little bit as well. And then the other little things like just finding a place for us to eat and getting our meal orders in. I'm really big on like getting our meal orders in and we're picking it up and we're going, or we're eating right away there, you know, just like to be prepared on the road. So just little things like that I can delegate just kind of helps me with all the other stuff. But really those are the two big ones. And then, you know, I think offensively, I delegate a lot to my dad, obviously. So that's a big one for me. You know, offensively and defensively, he does a lot. And then Richard does our out of bounds plays, our baseline out of bounds plays this year. Ours sucked last year. So I was like, you have it, because I'm not good at this, you know? So that was a learning curve for me too, is like knowing, all right, what am I not good at? What do I think Richard's better at? Here's, you know, you have it this year, and then we can go from there, you know? So, yeah, I'm still learning how to delegate and what I should delegate, but I did learn a lot again from Charlie at Arizona State, was putting people, in places that they're going to be successful. And so like our director of ops, when we were there, he did our travel, but he helped with donors. He did like everything non-basketball related. Like he was incredible. I was assistant director of ops. I did everything basketball related. So I helped with recruiting stuff. I helped with scouts. You know, I did all of that side of it. And so she, you know, if she would have, you know, put me on more things that he did, I wouldn't have been as good as that. And same thing. And so she always put people, because she had a really big staff to manage. There's a lot. You know, at that level, you've got like 3 grad assistants, 3 assistant coaches, a director of ops, assistant managers. And so, I was delegating, you know, everything, you know, that needs to be done, but also putting people in the right position that they're going to be successful at doing, you know? Because if you give them a task that they're going to be terrible at, it's going to be hard for you in your program.
More work for you in the long run.
Exactly. Yeah.
It shows a lot of confidence to be able to delegate and you know, say someone else might be able to do this better than me, because as a head coach, you're, like you've talked about many times, you're in charge. It's all the accountability is yours. So to be able to sit back and say, hey, we can be better here, and I want you to take this, that shows a lot of confidence. And I think that builds a good
and it
program.
takes time too. You know, last year, that was my first year with Richard. And so now that I know him better, now we can, you know, kind of go back and forth, and he's giving me suggestions of what we should do at practice. Yesterday, the day before, he texted me, we should do some game like situation, end of game situations. Like, oh yeah, like those are things that we should have been doing. I didn't think of it. He did. And so yesterday we did it, and so that's what having a great assistant, as you guys know, is just thinking of those things that maybe your head coach isn't thinking of, and how can you make their life better. That was always like when I was an assistant coach, like what was preached. How can you make your head coach's life easier? And whatever that is, you do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Really is that simple.
Yeah.
And Coach Zozel does a really good job with us of giving us opportunities, but also, not asking us to do anything he wouldn't do,
right,
and putting us in positions to be successful. So all the really good head coaches I've seen are able to do that, able to manage people well. Do you have any, as we head out of here, do you have any messages you want to send out to all our listeners and fellow listeners or future listeners?
Well, I think this is awesome. You guys are doing this, and it's, I just think really good for our school as well, and our athletics program, of getting different people on here. And, what you guys are doing is a lot of fun. And hopefully we can get some listeners out to the games, or go, watch us online, and, check out the men's and women's. It's kind of fun because our styles are pretty different, right?
Yeah,
very different. And so, yeah, it is. And so it's really fun. It's fun for me to get to watch that, and take things from you guys as well. But, when you come to a game, you're going to see totally two different styles, and how you make both those styles successful, is really fun. That's what's so cool about sports in general, is there's no one size fits all. Everybody has different philosophies, and that's okay. That's what makes it so great. So I think, what you guys are doing is a lot of fun. We'll definitely get some of our girls on here.
We want that.
Yes. Yeah, the ones that aren't too shy. I've got quite a few that aren't shy. You've probably heard them. They're crazy at the games too. So, but yeah, just thank you guys. It's been fun to just chat, and about life too.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, it's a privilege to have you on here. Thank you. When Aden said that you would come on our show, I was really excited about it. So
that's awesome.
Like you're saying, we would love to have your athletes on here and help us spread the message and get other sports athletes on here as well. And,
yeah. A fun fact is that my husband played football at Millikan. Isn't that crazy?
University?
Yes.
Wow.
He played football there for a year, and then he got hurt. And then he went to Eastern Illinois for athletic training for school. But yeah, he played there for a year.
Wait, where did he grow up?
He's from Jacksonville, Illinois. So so Zozel coached.
Zozel was,
he coached at what is the school there?
McMurray.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
And that's where Carter grew up.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that so random?
Yes. So you met him where?
I met him at Arizona State when I was working there. He was an athletic trainer for wrestling.
Wow,
yeah.
That is a lot of ties.
Right?
Yeah, that's interesting.
And that is a small town. Both of them,
yeah,
are small towns. So it's just random that you were at Millikan and he was there.
That's very interesting.
What year did you coach there?
Oh, what years was it? 9, 10, 10, 11 here. It was 11, 12, 12, 13, and 13, 14.
Okay, because he might have been there possibly, because we graduated high school in 2010, so he would have been 10, 11, maybe 11, 12, maybe just 10, 11 though.
Yeah, I was here at 10, 11. It'd be fun to find out.
Yeah, you'll have to ask.
I'm glad you brought that up.
I know, that's so crazy.
That is crazy.
Any final words, Aden?
I was going to ask for your hot take of the day. We always ask for
I didn't go there.
For a hot take.
What's a hot take?
Just something
spicy,
controversial
that
you
putting you on the spot.
Oh gosh.
Could be completely random.
Okay.
Unrelated to
sports. Pepperoni and pineapple pizza. is the best, and pineapples belong on pizza.
I think that was my last hot take. Was that pineapple belongs on pizza?
Yeah.
Take.
And
Yeah.
that's caused a little
It's
bit of
very
concern.
controversial.
It is, but unfortunately, I love it too. Yeah, I
doesn't?
can't.
I
argue with it.
know.
It's so
It's
good.
so good. Like the sweet, spicy element. Like
Yeah.
it works.
And like usually people do the Hawaiian, the Canadian bacon, but pepperoni is better.
No,
pepperoni
is
pineapple.
better.
Yeah.
I agree.
That needs to have its own name. Like Hawaiian has its name. Like
Right.
What's the pepperoni pineapple name?
It does.
Double P? PP?
I don't know if we should go there.
Yeah,
I'm going to be thinking about that all day
That was
now.
out of
What's
bounds.
the name we can come up for that one?
Yeah, I don't. It'd be nice to have someone to argue with, but it's. I'm
Yeah,
glad
we've
that
had some good arguments during these hot takes.
And well, sorry, we're all on the same page on this
No,
one.
no, I
No,
love
that's
that.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's refreshing for once. We had a little bit of a debate. One of our episodes, I made the statement of Subway, like subs, aren't sandwiches. They're like their own thing.
No, they're sandwiches.
No, it's a sub.
You're right.
It's a
You're
sandwich.
right.
It's a sub. They call it a sub sandwich.
It's a sub though.
What's a sub?
It's a sub.
That's what we kept asking too.
So let me ask you, is a hot dog a sandwich?
No,
Why?
because it's different.
So is a sub.
You don't put like lettuce on your hot dog, and
You can.
nobody does that.
Nobody. See, this is where.
We had to have this.
Is it panini a sandwich?
I think, yeah,
its
it's a
own thing.
sandwich.
Right? It's its own thing.
No, I don't think so.
I think a panini is a sandwich.
Yeah. Sorry.
I'm in the minority here.
Yep, you are.
Yeah, it's fun getting up on you.
And then we talked about Jordan and LeBron. I think we
Oh,
actually
yep.
about that.
Yep.
I was more of a LeBron goat type of guy, and he's a diehard Jordan.
I'm a Jordan too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We fought for maybe 20 hours on text.
No, we had like a pretty intense back and forth from
That's
like
hilarious.
10 a.m. on NFL Sunday
Yeah.
till like 9 p.m. at night.
Until he realized that was right.
Yeah.
And then he kind of like gave up.
Until
on
he turned off his notifications.
Have you guys watched the Jordan series?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
The Last Dance.
so good.
It was.
I like when that came on, they did it like one episode.
Yeah.
We
during
were
the
just
pandemic.
so locked. Yeah, it was. There was nothing else going on, right?
Yeah.
Like, man, we were just locked. I don't think anyone talked in our house because we had roommates at the time. I don't think we talked the whole 2 hours or whatever it was. Like, it was so good.
Just
No,
waiting for him to come on. Too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
And especially like the little cliffhangers at the end where like
Yeah.
they went from one even year to the next or the era and then it sort of went backwards sometimes. Like it was well done.
So good.
It was.
Yeah, that was fun. Well, and like he said he had to approve. He said he always got the last say.
Mhm.
So if someone was saying something against him, he would get to watch it and then he'd get to like have the final say.
Right.
Which I don't blame him. Like if
He's
you're going to
smart.
make a documentary on me, like I get to have the final say every time.
Yeah.
I get the final argument.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. He likes control too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
then that's what made him great, honestly.
Exactly. Yeah. No. Exactly.
Yeah, I didn't debate that Jordan had like a bigger impact on culture and like sort of the evolution of the NBA and what got it to be so popular today. And my whole thing was just that LeBron's just a better overall basketball player, That's
a tough one. That's a tough one.
We could really dive into that.
But Jordan wouldn't put up with what the Lakers are doing right now.
Right.
That's the difference. Like he wouldn't. They're a mess, and it's their culture. He
Mhm.
wouldn't put up with that. There
Mhm.
would be, yeah. I mean, he put up with Rodman, but Rodman like played.
He was a winner.
He was helping him win.
Yeah, he was helping him win. He
Yeah.
did some crazy stuff, right?
Yeah.
But he always came in and played hard and helped him win. Like
He knew his role.
exactly.
Because Jordan did some crazy stuff too. Like, I
Totally.
mean, he'd be golfing all day and
Smoking
going to
cigars.
practice. Yeah.
Yeah, but then he'd come in and win the sprints, like
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
ahead of his time. I
For
said that
sure.
for sure. But
yeah.
no, We could talk about that for probably an hour.
Definitely.
Well, thanks again for coming on.
Yeah,
this was
you're welcome.
phenomenal. And maybe after the season, we can get you on again and do kind of a recap of the season.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
My first podcast was great. So thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on.
Yep. And that's a wrap.